What is going on, guys? Welcome in to a post-game version of Nebraska football at the Voice of College Football. It is nice to be back and doing a post-game live again. It reminds me a little bit of football season. Still a few months away from the regular season beginning, but as we saw today, a lot to be excited about. A lot of the things that we've talked about on here coming to fruition, some of the things that Matt Rule has talked about the team working on and individuals working on. We got to see a lot of the speed, the athleticism, very, very vanilla overall again, just in terms of schematics and stuff like that. Probably we're trying to put the passing game on a little bit of a showcase to really test these quarterbacks' arms and really just seeing them go out there and make plays on the football field. Again, you have a lot of inexperience in the quarterback room. So getting these guys out there and seeing actual game action in front of the fans, that was really going to be telling for them to get out there and see translated from the practice field even over into that 60,000, plus in front of them. So we're going to get into some of the things and some of the things that I saw that, out of Haarberg that he has significantly improved upon. And then, of course, we'll get into some of your comments here in a little bit. So right off the top, let's just go, over just quick rundown of the numbers. Raiola 16 for 22 passing for 239 yards and 2 touchdowns. We've seen the highlights. It's some of the touch that he has on his passes, and we knew just how incredible he was with his touch passes and his throws and just how effortless his throwing motion is. And I'll break that down a little bit, just what makes him so good and what makes him be able to just, with a simple flick of the wrist, be able to throw the ball. And that's what good quarterback mechanics does. It takes your arm out of the equation that way, or you're relying on your lower body and you're relying on the kinetic chain linking together to really kind of, throw that momentum into the pass and take a lot of the stress off your arm. And it's really more so just flowing from the hips through the shoulders. And that's also what Haarberg improved upon in his throwing motion as well. Kalen 9 for 16 with 91 yards. But I think, the surprise here, and I don't want to say a surprise because we didn't think he was capable of it. It's just a surprise because, with Haarberg, he's been one of those guys that we love as a fan base, but just the lack of development year over year, it led you to believe what his ceiling was, in terms of his development and just how refined he was as a quarterback and how late in the game he was. But what Glenn Thomas has been able to come and do with Haarberg in a fairly short amount of time is tremendous. You can see the little details, just him keeping this hand, when he comes over the top and he throws, keeping this hand up here, keeping it even higher than before instead of dropping it to his hip pocket. That way he's not throwing that shoulder wide open and really sailing those throws. And you saw a lot of poise in the pocket. And so let me just run through the quarterback room first and foremost off rip, okay? Because that was, of course, the story of the day. That was going to be the story of the day no matter what. Now we're in this bubble here, and we knew this was coming. Had Raiola performed bad, everyone would have been like, oh, Raiola's terrible. Nebraska's going to suck. But since Raiola performed well and made good throws, now everybody's saying Nebraska's defense sucks. So, you can't win. You can't win with the red, white spring games in terms of the opposing fans. But I think a lot of people saw what the potential was in this offense from the outside, with Raiola under center. So let's get into him a little bit. So Raiola, first things first, what you see from Raiola is what we've been, preach, or what has been preached to us about what he's done since he's come in there. And basically he has come in there. He has not missed a step, not missed a beat. He has come in there with confidence, poise, and accuracy. And he has come in there as a leader. He's come in there with confidence and swagger, and the way he carries himself on the field with his body language. Matt Rule had mentioned body language being very, very important, and then really trying to work on him making sure that his energy stays up, because other people feed off of his energy. And you saw that come out today, right? After those touchdowns, he had some handshakes with the guys, was really firing them up, was really being a leader out there on the field, calm, composed, coming out and just leading a touchdown drive, making some beautiful, beautiful throws. But one of the biggest things that you wanted to see is his decision-making. And I touched on this on the Tuesday live stream, but CJ Stroud had a very, very interesting thing that he said about what he learned in just his first couple weeks in the NFL. What he learned his first couple weeks in the NFL was he was, scrambling here and there, and it was taking, hits. And he says, like, these guys are faster, bigger, a lot bigger and stronger than I dealt with in college, right? So what he then realizes you got to get to your spot before they do, right? You're either up and out of the pocket or you're around and out of the pocket, right? And it's like a jump shooter in the NBA. Get to your spot before the defender can take that from you. And essentially, what he learned in that is it's best to be able to roll out of the pocket and live to fight another down, not force anything, not scramble every single time you have an opportunity to scramble. Sometimes if it's a 2 or 3 yard scramble, but you got a risk taking a hit, sometimes it's best to just, let that ball go, sail it away, and then, try to come back the next play. And I think, one of the biggest things that you wanted to see in Raiola and this quarterback room and these young quarterbacks in general was that, right? Last year was so much of one read scramble. We're out of the pocket. Okay. And what we saw there today, Glenn Thomas preached this before, calm feet equal calm mind, right? All of the quarterbacks' minds. I feel like the game was a little quicker for Kalen for a little bit, but I think Kalen, settled in. But what we noticed from Haarberg, especially because he was so quick to scramble last year, he didn't really scramble all that much. He didn't leave the pocket a ton. The game looks like it's slowed down for him. And I feel like him going against these, this defense and the looks that they're getting and what they're putting them through in practice, just seeing the development in Haarberg, not only in his mechanics, like I mentioned, but the mechanics don't matter if the mind isn't there, right? And this is a guy who is stepping into his throws with confidence now. This is a guy that is taking the checkdowns when they're there. He's not trying to force anything. He's not just throwing the deep ball just to make a deep play and to make a play, and because it doesn't trust his ability to lead the offense down the field methodically. And so what we saw from Haarberg today and what the biggest thing we wanted to see, because stats in a spring game, they are what they are. But you want to see those things. Is he calm and composed in the pocket? Is he going through more of his progressions than he was previously? When he does that, are his mechanics improved? Are his throws improved? Yes, yes, yes. He checked all of the boxes of improvement. Haarberg, excellent performance out there today. And like I said, with Kalen, the thing with Kalen was, and I said this in the quarterback preview and then our spring game preview with Kalen, was Kalen's one of those guys that he's very, very raw. And I know a lot of people were saying, a lot of fans really rock with Kalen heavy, and as we should, because what he did staying loyal to Nebraska in that process with Raiola was something that you don't see in the modern college football era, especially at the quarterback position with a guy who was a 4-star Elite 11 QB. So with Kalen, what we had to understand, what I said on that recording we did was, at the end of the day, there was a reason that Raiola is a 5-star and Kalen's a 4-star, and that is no knock on Kalen. But there are some things Kalen needs to work on and refine as that are more advanced in his game. When you're a 4-star quarterback, you can do and make most of the throws that you need to make. But it's really slowing the game down and being able to do different things, change the arm slot, change the arm angle, being able to, make those quick decisions. Raiola looked almost like a seasoned guy in there, and Kalen looked more like a freshman. That's what to be expected. Kalen's not going to have to go out there and be the guy immediately, but he is going to get better as the season progresses. Again, they haven't been on campus long. These guys have had 13, 14 practices. And so what we saw from Kalen is essentially the worst version that we're probably ever going to see of him. That was his first game action, getting out there in front of fans, the nerves and all that stuff. Overall, Kalen 9 for 16 with 91 yards, didn't make, mistakes. And didn't put the ball on the ground. He was composed and he was poised in a lot of situations. And like I said, just once he got those jitters off, he seemed to work a lot better. But as a whole, the wide receiver room was a very, very impressive. The biggest thing was Haarberg Was Haarberg going to slide himself into that 2 role? Did he make enough progress to slide himself in that quarterback 2 spot? And I think he did. You know, the improvements that he's made showed that he can lead a drive. Now, for anybody that may want to say that Haarberg should start, I haven't seen that yet, but just in case, just understand that at the end of the day, the goal is to finish drives. And Raiola finished more drives in terms of, and Raiola, you know, had less. I don't even know if he had a 3 and out. He was putting drives together, even when he wasn't finishing. He was putting drives together. You know, so that's the biggest thing that you want to see is how these guys string together drives and control an offense, and can they consistently put drives together? Raiola was the guy consistently putting drives together, and Haarberg, you know, was doing very similar, but again had a couple 3 and outs. So um, albeit against a good defense. I will say, you know, some of the knocks on the defense, I understand. However, you got to realize the quarterback's in a green non-contact jersey. The defense is very, very hamstrung in these spring games because you're really not trying to unload on a guy. You really don't want to tackle low because you don't want to injure your own guy. And so there's a lot more reservations on the defensive side of the ball. So I wouldn't worry too much about, you know, what we saw in defense. More so, just be excited about some of the progress we made. You know, again, statistics in a spring game are what they are. We can look at a couple things just to see trends, but more often than not, you're not going to get too many answers from that. You're going to really just see a lot of individual development, what these guys have refined in their skill set. So moving over to the receiving side of the ball, I know y'all probably saw at one point, you know, Raiola had 15 completions to 13 different receivers. And when I talked about our wide receiver room last year, it was one of those things where it's like, we really didn't have the ability to spread the ball out because we just didn't have a lot of guys that were able to create separation and get open. So, you know, what we're kind of seeing now is, okay, these guys are creating separation. They're getting open. And what that shows me, right? Because these guys are just as fast as they were last year. You know, these guys are just as athletic as they were last year. But again, rules philosophy in this is, you know, get athletes in here, get speed in here, you know, get big physical guys in here that are uber athletic. And then I just said uber athletic, dude. I say that sometimes. And it's, you know, I think somebody called me out on that before. It's really a corny way to put it. But get these athletic guys, dual sport athletes, and then develop them. So the biggest thing that we were able to see, you know, some of these guys route running really improved. You know, some of the things that Jalen Lloyd struggled on last year, like Matt Rule mentioned his post game press conference, his ball skills. You know, just being able to identify and pick up where the ball's going and be able to adjust quickly on that and being able to track that ball down. Jalen Lloyd's, you know, upside is tremendous. 97 yards and a touchdown. Just his speed is great. If he keeps developing as a wide receiver, which he will, of course, he's going to be an exceptional player on this team for a long time. Ja'Cory Barney, touchdown. Now Ja'Cory Barney shows, you know, his athleticism, explosiveness, his flashes. But with Ja'Cory, you know, he's one of those guys. He's very explosive, and sometimes he's going to, you know, make a couple of mistakes like he made today, just with the kickoff and stuff like that. But that's a trade-off you'll take, because then he comes back with a 78-yard return and just doesn't realize the kicker's on his team. So with Ja'Cory Barney, you'll take that trade-off. But you don't want to see those self-inflicted mistakes on the kickoff, because depending on the timing of the game, those can be very, very detrimental naturally. So Janiron Bonner with a great game. Even Matt Rule alluded to him after. He said he's an NFL style fullback, but he translates to wideout, which should show you just how good he is as a fullback, because that's no knock on his ability as a wideout. But the fact that he is so good at doing the dirty work that people don't enjoy working on, you know, getting blocks, setting blocks on the edge. Like, he really is a guy who you can tell has honed in on that part of his game. And, you know, him saying he's an NFL fullback is just shows how good he is as a fullback overall. Now, one of the biggest things, let's roll through, you know, the position groups here over, you know, high level overview, and then I'll get into some of your comments as well. You know, Bushini coming out, 40 some odd yard punt. Jacob Hull, 31-yard, shank there. And then Alvano missed from 32 and 43, and then come back and made a 40-yarder. You know, I am not 100% sure what's going on just with Alvano. And the hard part about this is kicking is so mental, right? It's really hard for us on the outside to see because we know he has the leg. We know he's made pressure kicks before, and I think there was so much put on his back last year, especially because he's a true freshman kicker with all the expectations of the world. And we have an offense that can't move the ball. And the pressure's on his back to get as many points as he can. And he's a freshman, he was a freshman too. And so it's one of those things where it's like, yes, he struggled today, but let's just still see if maybe they can, maybe today's a good thing that the coach can kind of build off of and work, with him on that mental side of it, if that's really what it is, because I don't think it's a mechanical thing. The guy can kick. It is mental, in my opinion. And so he's just got a little case of the yips, but when he gets it right, it's going to be really, really good, but just because of his leg. And again, when he's confident, we've seen just how good he can be even under pressure, like he did in that state championship game. What was he, 5 for 5 with like a 50-something yarder to win state? So some of the things Matt Rule touched on in terms of offense, he loved the energy. Again, that's one of those things that he spoke high about Raiola being able to carry that energy and the offense feeding off of his energy. Of course, didn't like the back-to-back turnovers, but the one good thing is, last year our quarterback room, I think, had 16 fumbles or something like that. And the ball only hit the turf one time on snaps. Our quarterbacks, the ball only hit the ground one time, outside of incompletions from our quarterbacks. And so that, and he was able to just recover the snap and keep going. So like the interceptions, yeah, those need to be improved. Again, the tipped pass really wasn't Raiola's fault, but one of the leadership things that I do love is he put it on himself. He said, I could throw that ball better. And that's what separates. That's what makes him great. That's what's going to make him great is he takes accountability because he knew that he could have put that ball a little, he threw it a little bit too far, to the back shoulder. And so if he puts that ball a little bit more on the money, he probably comes down with that. But as a receiver, if it hits you in two hands, like they say, you got to catch that ball. But I do like the accountability there, him taking pressure off of his guys. That's the type of guy that you want as your quarterback if you're a receiver that's going to really also, take some accountability for his part in it, not completely put the pressure and everything on your back. That's what a leader does. Now, with Bly Hill, I saw a comment about Bly Hill earlier. Bly Hill was when I did my when on the video we did where it was our top 5 players we're most excited for spring, Bly Hill was my first guy on that list. Again, just a guy who's long, rangy, knows how to use his body, can really, he's tall, just the type of cornerback that, can really get up and get with some of these taller receivers on these 50-50 balls. He's just a true cornerback and his ball skills are fantastic. And it was no surprise that he flew up the depth chart because, he came in a little under the radar as our lowest rated transfer in this class, but one of the guys that was really, really exciting and interesting to me. But, it sucks that he's going to be out, but it's really, really good and fortunate that, Vincent Shavers came out and said he talked to him. And one tweet, Shavers said 4 to 6, and another he said 6 to 8. So, 6 to 8 is probably the more conservative. But they with Matt Rule, the way he does rehabs these injuries, like he's done through camp so far, if anybody even has something nagging, he's going to err on the side of caution. He's going to leave them out as long as he needs to until they're 100% better, so he doesn't risk re-injury. So these guys, Nebraska's great facilities. The recovery that they got in those facilities are fantastic. I think they'll get these guys right. Well, of course, Demetrius Bell, unfortunately, he's going to be delayed until next season, probably get a medical red shirt. Highly unfortunate, man. Demetrius Bell was going to be a stud. Struggled a little bit in this spring game, but the writing was on the wall that he was going to be a very explosive part of this offense, and just, gutted to lose him. But, happy that Bly Hill at least is going to be able to slide back in the cornerback rotation, just because now you were in a position where, did you need to keep Hartzog at corner, or move him back to corner, or can you keep him at safety? So there's a couple of different options that they could do there regardless. But there's a couple of guys that are really, really raw as corners. They're athletic and stuff, but they're really, really raw in that position. So Hartzog would be a little bit more developed, more experienced. So it just depends on how Bly's recovery comes along. But I think, when Bly Hill's back, he is a lock for the cornerback 2 spot. And then Hartzog can stay at safety. And so hopefully we got him back in plenty of time and there's no setbacks in his recovery. So yeah, very, very good news there. One of the things that leading up to the spring game that Matt Rhule had mentioned is really wanting to work on third down conversion percentage. And so going through that in this game, again, stats are what they are. The defense was, unable to really, I guess, play as loose and free as they could, just because of not wanting to, go low tackle. Like I said, they can't really go after the quarterback all that much. But let's just look at the stats compared to last year. Where Rule was talking about, we were 37.22% last year getting off the field on third down, which put us at 49th in the country, right? And where you want to be with that percentage, when you look at the range of the back half of the top 25, they're more down in the 33% range, and you get to the top and you got teams up there with the 25%, the 28s. And so you really want that between, somewhere in 33% and lower to really be in that top 25%. So 37.22 last year, which was down from 42% the year before, which is crazy that they were converting nearly half of third downs. So made an improvement year over year. It was down to 42.2% the last 3 games, surprisingly, but also, a lot of different things led to the end of the season with injuries and stuff like that down that stretch. So in the first quarter, 3 for 7 on conversions in the combined between red and white. In the second quarter, 1 for 3. Third quarter, 2 for 4. Fourth quarter, 0 for 3. Okay, so 6 for 17 in total, 35%. So that's, again, right around that average. Still not a lot to be able to gather from that. However, the fact that the defense was a little hamstrung and still was able to kind of keep that in the 35% range, I think our defense is going to be okay. And I think this is going to be another improvement, because you have to get off the field on third down, and especially 3 and outs. 3 and outs are one of the biggest things to get momentum right off the bat. Getting off the field on third down, that we had so many backbreakers last year, especially on third and longs. Third and longs, especially, I think were completed at almost, 32%, which is, nearly the conversion rate of some teams on third down in general, and like I said, those top teams. So 37 rushing attempts to 60 passing attempts. Again, I think that was more by design. I think they really wanted to give these quarterbacks a chance to throw the ball, see what they look like with these receivers, see what they look like with the crowd, and a kind of simulated game environment. So we do know also, though, we can't just look at the rushing attempts and look at them as just such, because we do know that the short intermediate passing game is also a big part of Marcus Satterfield's offense. And so, you see this a lot in like Dana Holgorsen and Jeff Gundy offenses, right? Where they kind of use the short pass almost as a run game. And now it's not near that level, because Satterfield's a huddle up guy, get big, get physical. We want to run the ball. However, he does use those short intermediate passes, to get the playmakers in space, and those, those kind of almost work as a extension of the run game. Those little swing outs of the backfield, those little screens behind the line of scrimmage, those type of plays. And we saw a lot of good blocking on those plays, a lot of development on the offensive front in just terms of seeing the play open up. Everything seemed a lot more structured in the way the plays developed. Everybody seemed a little bit more patient in letting the play set up in front of them. And that showed because they were able to get gash plays and chunk plays, just based off of the wide receiver's athleticism and legs. Nair, you saw Nair. Like he is a guy that can stretch the field. He is a guy that can, you know, take a screen pass to the house with that 4.4 speed. Nair is a weapon, and Jamal Banks is a weapon. You saw Jamal Banks when he gets up to speed. His acceleration may not be the greatest, but when he gets up to speed and starts striding it out, he's quick. And so, Banks and Nair are going to be excellent paired with Lloyd. It is exciting. We didn't see a ton of Jamal Banks today. I don't think we necessarily have to, because he's one of those guys that's going to come in. We know he's going to be the wide receiver one, the true X wide receiver, no matter what. So we have that. And then my guy, I wanted to save him. My guy, Emmett Johnson. Y'all know, well, those have been on the channel a while. I've been Emmett Johnson fan since last offseason. And my running back preview last year was one of the guys I spoke about that I really, really liked. And most didn't know that last year he was splitting reps 50-50 with the first team last spring. And so it was no surprise when he was able to come in there and be able to produce the way he did. And what we saw today is why he is the running back one. He runs with a head of steam. He knows when to lower his shoulder. He knows how to get around guys. And he is twitchy and he's powerful. He's powerful in the way he runs. You get a guy like Dowdle. Dowdle's bigger. Gabe Irvin's bigger, but he runs with such tenacity and a full head of steam that he attacks the defender. He doesn't wait on the defender. He attacks the defender. And it doesn't matter who has the strength in that if you attack the leverage. It's all about leverage. If you can get low leverage on them, odds are you're going to win that battle. And so what Emmett Johnson did well is he identified whether he needed to, could he make a play around him? And he operated so well in such a small space. That's very indicative of more indicative of straight line speed is the quickness, just because your ability to be able to shuffle in those tight spaces and be able to get around him. His jump cuts were excellent. He looks twitchy. He looks faster. He looks stronger. And he looks like he's just developed in his football IQ. He was finding holes, being patient when they weren't there and waiting for things to set up again. Emmett Johnson is probably my favorite player on this team, just because, like I said, I've been a fan of his since last offseason when he first got here. And I'm happy he's getting the opportunity this quickly. And I'm happy he got the opportunity last year. Because to be able to run the ball the way he did last year is, with the passing game being basically non-existent, was, absurd. And so him taking another development year and him really talking on the podium the other day gave you a lot of insight into what his mentality is. He welcomes competition. He wants to get better. He wants to, he was talking, they asked him about the spring game. He's like, I'm excited for practice tomorrow. Those are the grinders. Those are the guys. Now, no knock on Dante Dowdle. Dante Dowdle, showed flash, showed explosiveness, even showed a little bit of speed. He is a guy that is a bruiser, but he can also, run in a zone blocking scheme. We saw a zone run today that he was able to break outside. Very, very good in his zone run scheme. A lot of his film in high school had him in kind of a zone running scheme where you're just kind of waiting for the blocks and then you kind of just find that cutback lane or find that opening. And so Dante Dowdle showed a lot of flashes of what he can be. And I think he's going to be a big, big part of this running back rotation, of course. And then you got your guys like Quentin Ives. Quentin Ives, again, younger. Let's see his development. Want to see that. Ramir Johnson is healthy. Ramir Johnson only was held out because they know what he's about. They know his mentality. They know his work ethic. Ramir Johnson, we know his skill set. We just need him to stay healthy. Gabe Irvin said he's almost back. And so when we get that rotation fully going, it's going to be a difficult thing to, even Maurice Mazuka came out and, I talked about him in the previous live stream just because, Evan Cooper talked about him in the press conference. One of the guys he mentioned that was very, very, he said if there's a situation where your running back room your running back goes down and you need a guy to finish the game, he's the type of guy that can finish the game. He plays the game the right way, does everything the right way. And yeah, I was happy we were able to see him get out there and see what Evan Cooper was talking about because, he looked almost like a scholarship player out there, albeit against you know, some of the defenders that, were kind of second, third string, but still it doesn't matter. The guy went out there and he showed against who they put out there against him what he's capable of. And again, this roster is deep. This defense is deep, so it's no slouch there. But yeah, offensive line, again, we got to see pretty good play by the offensive line. The quarterbacks had time, especially on that Raiola throw. He had a lot of time in the pocket to be able to get settled and really just focus on making that throw. So I'll get into some of your comments here. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to drop them in here. Jackson, appreciate you stopping in, sir. What's going on, Andrew? Bly Demetrius Bell. Yeah. Nobody's beating Nebraska in 2024 yet. Yeah. I agree. I'm always that way until we lose our first game. So, yeah, probably Demetrius Bell probably is going to miss the whole season. There's no way they risk him coming back, and they're probably just going to chalk it up medical red shirt. He's not coming back this season. Some just want to shred the QB room. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, and which I'd never understood. Even the people that were ready to shred it. I thought Raiola would make. I was telling people to anticipate some freshman mistakes, so I was even wrong in that because I didn't really see a whole lot of that. So I was telling people, have tempered expectation, but, understand he's going to make some freshman mistakes, understand he's going to make some really good plays. And, he didn't make the freshman mistakes. He made great plays all over the field, made the right plays. So yeah, regardless, I just find no reason to not be excited about this quarterback room even before that. These guys offered Preston Ashley, one of Dowdle's cousin. Yeah, 4-star DB, 4-star Dylan Alfred, cousin of Dowdle, Ole Miss commit. Yeah, we get a lot of these connections, like with the Mazuka brothers and stuff like that. With you got your oh my gosh, I forgot my train of thought. But anyways, yeah, they do like these people, these guys with connections. And one of the things I think that does help with, with Boodle, for instance, he talked about how Decap was really able to help him with a lot of things before he even got there, and has been able to help him with a lot of things since he's got there. And so I think they really see the value in that, and these guys and these guys playing, because Matt Rule is all about family. He's all about retention, right? So what's the most likely way to be able to retain these guys and make them feel like family? Well, put them around family, put them around people they know, put them around familiar faces. And then the team becomes family too. It's one of those things where Matt Rule's talked about. He hasn't had as many players enter the portal as he even expected. And that's just a testament to what he's kind of alluded to. 0 Nebraska players have hit the portal. One has hit the portal in 2024. That's it. And that's the lowest in the Big Ten. And that just speaks to the relationships. And so it's no surprise to me that he's doing things like that. He really likes legacy players. He likes the guys that have connections, especially. He loves athletic families. A lot of the players that aren't dual sport athletes, and even some of them are, but a lot of the players that we went after and got in this last cycle have siblings, dads or moms that were collegiate athletes or professional athletes. A lot of them. I think people will be surprised if they look through that at how many just of those there are. So athletic lineages are very important. So I think it's one of the reasons why you do see him at, with some of these connections. But I do love the offers and the way he's constructing the offers, because he's being very efficient with the offers. And what I mean by that is he's going after guys that he really thinks we have a legitimate shot at. And I kind of broke down the numbers at his success rate. And I can't remember off the top of my head, but just in terms of converting visitors to commits. And it was, I think it was upwards of 80 some odd % after, he kind of got in there and turned it over to the fall when he first got in there. So he had a string of commitments there at the end. A lot of the transfers that he got were guys that came to campus and immediately committed. And so he's got a good track record. And I think he has a systematic approach to the way he recruits. Again, hiring a lot of analysts that were high school coaches in the area of in the state of Texas, high level coaches that's helped open up recruiting, and getting Nebraska, the brand, back down there in Texas and some of these big name schools and stuff like that. So, and it's already paying dividends. Again, Texas was our most recruited state last year, is our most offered state this year, with Florida and Nebraska. So he's attacking those three states heavy, and it's paying off dividends. And so no surprise, he wants guys that, he doesn't get guys to be depth pieces. He gets guys who are he thinks can be starters. And he gets guys on the team that on the third string, he expects his third string to be able to start, so he doesn't waste offers. With the guys he gets to campus, he wants to get in the boat quickly. So in the boat, I'm sorry, whoever called me out for that first before, because of the PJ Fleck, he's the boat guy. I'm sorry. I got to get out of some of these habits, I swear. But yeah, in great visitor weekend, I'm really curious to see what some of these recruits say after this weekend, and first things first, well, I should have said this at the top of the show, but for those in Nebraska, hopefully, I hope all y'all are safe, your families are safe and stuff like that, because it was really brutal what happened out there, seeing the aftermath. And I got a bunch of family out there, and luckily all of them are fine. But hope everybody out there is okay. If you go on Barstool Sports, you'll see they're doing the Husker Strong shirts that 100% of the net proceeds go to the relief fund. So yeah, everybody, if you believe in prayer, pray, keep everybody in your thoughts over there as they recover from this. But it was one of those things where the recruits came in town, and that happened. And so it was nice to even get out there and see, the fans show out. And like Matt Rule said, kind of after the dark day before, just being able to kind of show that Nebraska can still rally around, each other in this team. And I think that just goes to show the unity in Nebraska and just the community in Nebraska. As much as we may bicker as fans, the community in Nebraska is very strong. And everybody kind of looks out for each other in Nebraska. And so it's one of those things where they kind of even got to saw the family atmosphere of Lincoln and Nebraska as a whole, even in the face of one of the worst things possible that could happen, homes being destroyed and stuff like that. So hopefully in a way that, they were able to see not only the family, the team, but the community as well. So, yeah, hopefully I'm curious to see what they say about this visit out here, though. Zook had some good runs. Yeah, he absolutely did. There's a ton of different connections on the team. It's crazy. Reese from Cast has a ton of them. Yeah. And, like I said before, if you go look on 24/7 sports, a lot of times at the bottom, they'll tell you what other sports they played, who they're related to and stuff like that. So if you ever want to go look at some of these guys and these offers, yeah, there's a lot of connections. I'm telling you, if they're not a dual sport athlete or just a guy that Matt Rule finds ridiculously athletic, they probably have ties to a former athlete in some way. So like I said, if y'all have any questions, get them in here, drop your comments or anything like that. Let me go through some of the defensive stats here because I haven't really touched on those. 1 second. Let me get my notes here on the defensive side of the ball. Okay. So some of the guys on defense that were kind of, I guess, stood out a little bit here. If I can get to the, where's my defense stats? Sorry, guys, 1 second. Okay, so running through the list, DeAndre Barnes had 6 solo tackles, a pass breakup. Rex Guthrie, 3 solos and 3.5 total sacks. Stephon Thompson, one of the guys that was on my top 5 players I was most excited about, 2 solos, 1 assist, and 2.5 total, albeit I don't believe he played a ton out there. So it was nice to see, Stephon Thompson get out there and get some reps again the last time he was in Syracuse, coming off of that ACL tear, didn't really get a full off season of development. So able to kind of come back in and try to get his feet right here. Um, then on the red side, we had Boodle, 4 solo tackles. Jeremiah Charles, 3 solos and an assist. Gage Stinger, 2 solos, 3 assists, 3.5 total. Vincent Carroll Jackson, 2 solos. So, Vincent Shavers went out there and had a great game. Vincent Shavers had a couple of early tackles opportunities, and Vincent Shavers, one of those guys that the staff was preaching about and very, very excited about. So, a lot of these individual guys, we got to see them out there and show, but some of the tackle numbers too are very dependent on the fact that, some of these younger guys got a little bit more time out there. But what we saw from, Vincent Shavers and play recognition, and what we saw from the defense early on, defense was getting a little bit pressure past that offensive line and some of the schematics. But again, just watching how the defense schemed up and played, they were very, very simple concepts, as simple as it can be for a 3-5. So they kept the defense, didn't show a ton on defense again. So not a ton to break down on the defensive side of the ball, just in terms of, how some of these guys are picking up in their football IQ, how some of these guys are picking up in their physicality. Again, physicality is one of the hallmarks of this team, even though they weren't allowed to be physical. You can tell that this is a unit that wants to be physical, and you can tell it's a unit that thrives off physicality, because it almost felt like the defense wasn't able to get full energy up just kind of because of that, but still made some interceptions. One of the biggest things that hindered the defense last year was lacking the ability to force turnovers. And so being able to get out there and see him do, get some interceptions and stuff like that, something really, really, when we had our offense the way it was last year, we were very reliant on our defense so much, even relying on them to try to score points. So, or to get the ball back in these tight situations. But was nice to be able to see them out there, break on some balls, get some interceptions and make some plays. So, all in all, like I said, very exciting. A lot to be excited about in the QB room. If y'all have anything else before I conclude, I'll just base it off of if y'all drop any comments or anything like that, whether I'm going to wrap up or not. So, but yeah, we'll look at it this way. The offense was what we were worried about, right? And so what we wanted to see today was offense. And what we saw today was offense. We saw efficiency that we didn't see last year. We saw an offense that is able to play the style of football that they want to play. So, in the storylines, one of the things that I was wanting to see in the video that I did on Wilson Dittman's channel, in the storylines, one of the things I want to see too was this offense and just the way it's supposed to be utilized now that they have the personnel and now that they have the ability to run it the way they want it. Last year with the injuries, again, I defended Satterfield a lot because I felt like, we talk about just how hamstrung Nebraska was with injuries and how much that held them back. But yet when we're grading Satterfield on what the offense was last year, we're not using that same scale. And so you also have to understand Satterfield's the one that had to scheme up this offense while he was working with the quarterbacks, while he was working with the tight ends, and deal with some of the craziest injuries that a team probably will ever face with how many freshmen ended up being out there. So without having the deep ball, again, that is a huge part of what Marcus Satterfield likes to do. Is he likes to, get physical, use the run game, use the short intermediate pass game, and set up the long ball. And so he was able to finally show what his offense can look like and what it's supposed to look like. Last year, again, was a patchwork version of what this offense is going to look like. Today, we got to see just kind of some of the play calling that's going to make this offense gel. And again, what you see is they're taking what the defense gives them. They're not trying to get it all in one play. They're really focused on sustaining drives and letting that deep ball open up when it comes, But what I like to see is Haarberg, sometimes when the play was set up for a deep ball, took the underneath throw, took what they gave him. So they're making smart plays. They're making smart reads. They're not just trying to make the flashy play. It's efficient, and it's more of a structured operation. Last year, it was just kind of backyard football, not going through your progressions. We need to make a play. We need to get yards, scramble Haarberg, do something. Um, Now we have, like I said before, the receivers are getting separation because they've worked on their technique. Jalen Lloyd's just as fast as he was last year, could be a little faster. However, what got him separation and what was able to get some of these other receivers that are fast and they carried that same speed over was their ability to be able to shake some of these defenders and be able to find openings and be able to sit down. Alex Bullock is one of those guys. He's very, very good at finding openings and finding the soft spot of a zone or finding the soft spot of the defense. He's also really good at making difficult catches. Alex Bullock is one of those guys that I think is going to be very important at times to this offense and being the guy that is going to be able to, put him in on third down, and let him find a void in the defense. That way, if you need to bring it down to him, you can. So I think Alex Bullock is one of those guys going to be a big, big part of this team as well, and one of the unsung guys of this team. So that'll do it for me here. If y'all have no more comments left, that'll do it for me here. I will say the recordings that I'm doing will be picking up again, hitting it heavy starting Monday. I want to be able to do uploads for y'all. So it's the repurposed content plus recordings. And I want to be able to try to get a video for y'all a day. And my voice, I was just dealing with this voice issue for so long. You see at the low end, it's still kind of shaky, but it's well enough now because it was very up and down. So it's well enough now to where I feel like I can record and actually sustain my voice. Because when I was talking for long periods of time, my voice was gone the next day. So the recordings will pick back up, and I'll be getting more content for y'all out. I will be going over the spring game a little bit as I kind of break down, rewatch it, break down some of the different schemes and some of the plays and stuff like that. Just break the game down a little and further, be able to watch some individual plays more. I'll be having a video for y'all there. And then, of course, check in with us on a Tuesday live stream. It is at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. I'm bad with time zones. Sorry, I'm out in Arizona. We don't do daylight savings out here. So it's always flip-flopping on me. So, but yeah, with that being said, thanks for everybody for joining me today. And again, a lot to be excited about. What we saw on the field today is encouraging. And I think the Husker fan base echoes that. I've seen a lot of realistic takes and I've seen a lot of unrealistic takes, but also the overall feel has been exciting. And when all of Nebraska's fan base is in agreement, that means something's right, because Nebraska's Twitter fan base, especially, never agrees. We're always bickering about something. But all right. Yep. Thanks, guys. I've rambled long enough. That'll do it for me here. And I will see y'all in our Tuesday live stream. A lot of exciting stuff coming up for y'all. I got some more collaborations coming. So make sure y'all stay subscribed. Hit that like button. It really, really helps us out. And turn the bell notification on if you want to be notified of whenever we drop content. So got a lot more coming up for y'all in the coming days and weeks. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.